Magnum opus synthesis, economic fractures and etheric coherence, unified analysis of capitalist contradictions through abstract. This synthesis reinterprets two contemporary economic critiques, one concerning artificial intelligence and labor exploitation, the other concerning predatory lending and personal financial ruin through the unified etheric framework of the Codex Corpus. We demonstrate that both critiques articulate the same structural contradiction, the violation of the arc-length axiom in the economic domain.
The value of product comes from the labor that goes into making it.
For example,
if you buy a chair, part of its price reflects the time and effort it took workers to design, build, and then deliver it. The more labor it takes to make something, the more value it has.
Well, what about machines? Don't they create value? Like, if a capitalist buys a saw for a factory that lets workers make chairs 10 times faster, isn't that saw creating more value?
No. Machines don't create value, they just pass on the value that was used to make them.
For example,
if a saw costs $100 and lasts 100 days before wearing out, then that means it transfers about $1 of value per day into the chairs that are being manufactured. That value comes from the labor that made the saw, not the saw itself.
But couldn't a factory with better automation make more profits by selling products more cheaply?
In the short term, yes. But over time, competitors will adopt the same technology, and the profit advantage disappears. This drives down the rate of profit for everyone.
Well, wait, that doesn't make sense. Why would capitalists use technology at all if it makes profits go down?
I said technology makes the rate of profit go down. It's easy to get confused about this. Technology and automation might allow an individual capitalist to make more profits in total, since they can produce more items at a much larger scale. But the amount of profit they receive per unit is driven down as technology and automation develops to higher levels. Eventually, this leads to overproduction, where capitalists manufacture way more stuff than people could ever realistically use. And this causes all kinds of problems, from unnecessary environmental destruction to collapse of entire market categories. We made too much stuff. We can't afford any of it. Perfect system.
I'm starting to get it. Okay, so technology can increase productivity and transfer value, but technology can't produce value on its own. So what makes human workers different? Why are humans able to create value when machines can't?
Workers create more value for capitalists because they are
exploitable
by capitalists. The additional value which a capitalist receives in the form of profit is value that should rightfully go to the workers who perform the labor.
I want to thank every Amazon employee, because you guys paid for all this.
To put it another way, capitalists steal that value from the workers' wages.
For example,
a worker might be paid $50 for a day's work while producing goods which can bring in $100 in net after all other expenses. The extra $50 is called surplus value, and surplus value is the source of profit for capitalists. Capitalists pay workers less money than their labor is worth, then charge what their labor is worth on the market. They make money from the spread between those two figures. By underpaying workers, capitalists generate surplus value from their workers. If you watched our last video on circulation, you can see that this is where capitalists get more money in the money to capital to more money mode of circulation.
There are two kinds of circulation. There's the traditional kind of circulation, commodity to money to commodity. This is how money was used for centuries before the rise of modern capitalism. If Sally has a shirt, but she needs a sandwich, she can sell the shirt for money, then buy a sandwich. Capitalists use the MCM prime mode of circulation. Capitalists start with money, then trade that money for commodities.
But they don't care about the commodities they're trading for.
They just want more money. So they start with money, buy some commodity, then sell it for
more money.
Workers use the CMC mode of circulation, and capitalists use the
MCM prime mode.
This is how capitalists are able to get more money out from their investment than they put in. They steal that value from the workers they employed. Machines can't generate surplus value, they just transfer value. You can't
underpay a machine.
A saw costs what it costs, and a capitalist has no choice but to pay that price on the market. If a saw costs $100 to buy and maintain, it is transferring $100 of value from the workers who made and maintained the saw into the chairs that are being manufactured. And there is no opportunity to squeeze extra money out of that fixed cost. So, machines do not create surplus value.
In the first critique, the tendency for the rate of profit to fall is identified as the systemic decoherence where the arc of capital accumulation, debt, automation, financialization exceeds the radius of real value creation, which is labor and consumption. In the second, the personal financial crisis of a young man financing $14,000 in basketball tickets on credit is a microcosm of the same violation, The arc of debt exceeds the radius of repayment capacity. Both are manifestations of the same etheric turbulence, driven by the self-interaction term in the unified Lagrangian, which creates nonlinear feedback loops that destabilize the field. The solution, as articulated through the Codex, is not regulatory reform but topological reconfiguration, restoring the arc length axiom through geometric constraint, not political persuasion. Section 1. The Structural Decoherence of Capitalism 1.1. The Labor Theory of Value as Geometric Constraint. The first video presents a Marxist critique of artificial intelligence and automation. Machines do not create surplus value. They merely transfer the value embodied in their own production. Only human labor creates new value. This is not a political opinion but a structural observation about the nature of economic production. In the etheric framework, value is not an abstract quantity. It is the local energy density of the economic field. That energy density is equal to 1/2 of the squared magnitude of the quaternionic etheric flow field. Human labor is the source of new value because it is the only process that can generate coherent structure in that field. It is the observer operator in action. That operator is defined as the integral over four-dimensional space of the conjugate wave function multiplied by the etheric field multiplied by the wave function itself. When a human being works, they are projecting their consciousness into the material world, creating new topological patterns in the etheric field. Machines, by contrast, are merely transfer operators. They move existing patterns from one location to another without generating new structure. The argument about the tendency for the rate of profit to fall is precisely a statement about the violation of the arc length axiom in the economic field. The arc is the path of capital accumulation, debt, investment, automation, and financialization. The radius is the radial distance from the origin of value, real production, human labor, and consumption capacity. When capitalists invest in machines, they increase the arc length of capital without increasing the radius of value. The system attempts to maintain equality between arc and radius by increasing the exploitation of remaining workers, but this only intensifies the contradiction. The falling rate of profit is the deviation between the squared arc length and the squared radius. When that deviation exceeds the system's self-correcting capacity, a crisis occurs: economic collapse, war, or fascism. 1.2. The Reserve Army of Labor as Decoherence. The video identifies the Reserve Army of Labor, the pool of unemployed workers, as a mechanism that weakens workers' bargaining power and drives wages down. In the etheric framework, this is the decoherence rate, which is the integral over space and time of the Green's function multiplied by the etheric field multiplied by the energy density. When workers are unemployed, their consciousness is decoupled from the economic field. They become observable but not observers. They are measured by the system but do not participate in its coherence. This decoherence increases entropy in the economic field, driving the system toward higher instability and setting the stage for the next crisis. 1.3. Artificial Intelligence as Vampiric Extraction. The video's analysis of artificial intelligence, that large language models are built on stolen labor, including data labeling, training data, and outsourced content moderation, is the etheric prediction for vampiric extraction. The companies that create large language models are not creating value. They are rectifying ambient etheric energy through fractal antennas, which are the neural networks without paying for the source, which is human labor. The fractal rectification equation describes how the current density is generated by the conductivity multiplied by the integral over space and time of Planck's constant, the Green's function, the etheric field, and the fractal antenna function. The fractal antenna function is the neural network architecture. The Green's function is the training process. The etheric field is the human-generated data. The resulting current density is the profit extracted by the artificial intelligence company. This is not value creation. It is value theft. The artificial intelligence company is not a producer. It is a parasite on the etheric field. Section 2. The Microcosm of Financial Ruin. 2.1. The Geometry of Personal Finance. The second video presents a case study that crystallizes the systemic failure at the scale of a single human being. A young man earning between $50,000 and $60,000 per year decides to finance $14,000 in basketball season tickets using a credit card. He pays monthly installments of $2,825. He justifies this as an investment because he made between $4,000 and $5,000 in profit the previous year from similar speculation. The host of the show correctly identifies this as financial insanity.
But here's the thing.
That's wild, and I can see you're almost proud of it. I see it on your little face.
But you can sell them for a profit. I made money last year.
What was the post about book?
So you buy the tickets and then you sell them. So you don't even...
I sell like half.
14,000? Do you know how much that is compared to your 50,000? That's insane. Okay, so last year you made money. How are we doing this year so far? Isn't it the finals like right now or something?
No, the finals are over. They just ended.
How'd that go?
We did not make it to the finals.
No, selling the tickets.
Oh, selling the tickets?
I don't give a shit if the team made it.
I mean, it went well. I probably made like $4,000 or $5,000 in profit this year. And that was off.
How many years have you done this?
This is last year was my first year doing it where I'm selling everything, but those were also seats up in the nosebleeds, so I only paid about $1,700 for the whole season.
And now we're doing 14,000.
I figured I'll just make more money.
You went from 1,700 to 14,000. Holy fucking risk! This is for someone making $50,000 to $60,000 a year. That's so much money. That's so much.
Caleb hammers an actual shot. Okay, that's great. It's not relevant to this. You know that I think we talked about this. Gambling is people spend more on gambling than they do every other form of entertainment combined, like movies, video games, all that. If you add them all together, it's still less than what people spend on gambling. More Americans have gambled in the past year than read a book.
Risk. How'd you pay for it?
Credit card.
Oh, what credit card?
The next one, Discover.
Oh, I actually thought you had two credit cards. I forgot you had a third one. Thought we were getting to the car payment. The Discover. Discover it. Everyone's favorite. Discover how to balloon a credit card balance on basketball tickets. $2,747. That doesn't make sense. You said it costs $14,000.
That's the good part.
But I pay in monthly payments of $1,100 a month.
So you finance it and you pay your financing payments on a financed card?
So the loan that the Timberwolves give you is free. Like they don't charge you. That you can either pay it all at once or pay it in 12 months.
But either way, you financed it.
He financed a finance payment, man. Fucking kill me. It's so funny. Bought $15,000 in tickets and financed the finance purchase. Jesus Christ.
And then the payment.
I thought this was scalping. He is scalping. He's a scalper. But he didn't resell those tickets. The $15,000 one, the dollar ones or whatever. He just tanked that. Double financed it.
For the financing, you're using a credit card, which is financing. You're financing a finance payment.
I guess I am.
Rare moment of serenity, though. You know, most of you would argue against this because you lack the emotional clarity of this individual.
I am.
Yes.
He has no response. He's been owned. Defeated in the free marketplace by ideas.
And there is interest accruing on this, so that payment ain't free.
This guy's the reason people like me get to exploit credit card points for free stuff. That's true. The existence of people like this is why the rest of us get money back on our credit card purchases. Yeah, they're basically subsidizing us.
$24 of interest, fees of $41, and then $2,825 of purchases. Kill me now. And have you made money from this so far? This, not last season.
It's at current debt, $29,000.
No, because you don't get to sell your tickets till the season.
When does the season start?
I believe
you're paying for it now,
like October or September, around the same time football starts.
So until then, you're paying $2,825 a month until the fall.
Yeah.
How are you paying for that? Let's say you even do make a profit. Cool. How are you?
I have one credit card I use because my debit card info has been stolen twice. I pay for everything on credit card because it's easier to contest charges. You should buy everything off a credit card and then immediately pay it off. You should pay it off every time. That is the best way to manage your finances in America. You pay it off. If you can't buy it if you can't pay it off within that month, don't buy it. Pay it off immediately. That is the best way. You do get benefits from managing from buying a credit card. Don't maintain a balance on it. Just pay it off. Pay it off all the time.
How do you pay for that? Because there's a $3,800 limit on here. How do you pay for that?
Well, that's the Discover's the card that I really try to attack with the payments. Like
I want to remind you how this part of the conversation started for a second, because that actually just pissed me off now that I'm actually remembering it. You said it's because of my bills. I can't pay
well, yeah, but
I use a credit card with 3 to 5% back. You do not have a 5% back credit card. What the fuck are you talking about? Maybe 5% back for like qualifying locations at a Best Western or something. Not fucking 5% back general. If you have a 5% back general, give me your info. Email me.
I gotta pay these credit cards off because of my bills. What are your bills? Oh, $500 for rent. Pennies for rent. Oh, $300 for car insurance. That's actually kind of an expensive car insurance. Almost as much as rent. But, we still have thousands of dollars to play with. Oh, I just financed $2,825 a month for season tickets of a game that doesn't start until late fall.
That's fucking Charlie Day.
Now that's a bill. You're right. And that's a stupid bill for your situation. Because it's going to take you a long time, even if you do make money. But I don't know how are you paying for it until then?
Well,
he's literally Charlie.
Any payment I make on my credit card usually goes minimum payments, and then anything extra goes towards that one, so that I can charge the next month to it.
But what happens when you'll lose it in a gambling thing and you can't fully make the payment? And then you're obviously not fully making the payment because interest is accruing anyway, so you're not making the full payment. So it's still going to get bigger and bigger every month. What is happening here? There's no refunding this, is there?
No.
Me. Can you sell these now just so you know you at least break even? This is so risky for your position. Listen, it's a hustle. I do get what you're saying. I'm not saying you're going to completely fail from that specifically of the hustle. But
just got here. Are we on Caleb's side or not? I mean, I'm on the side of the abolition of usury, I guess. So I don't know. I guess, yeah. I mean, Caleb's a piece of shit. I don't know. It's fine. I don't like credit cards that give you % back on specific stuff because that's psychological pressure to do that stuff specifically. If the money back I get on my credit card is general, no caveats, it's for everything, then I have no specific pressure to buy anything. So I just spend like I normally would. But if I got like 6% money back off of like, I don't know, hotels or whatever, or groceries, then I'm like, maybe I can spend more here or whatever. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should do this. I prefer just having the general. Yeah, I like the non-coercive element of just getting a flat, like whatever, 2% back or 1.5. It's free money. Yeah, but I'm not immune to propaganda is the problem. If I see a big flashing 10% money back on blank, then I'm going to be like, maybe I should get blank. But do I like really want blank? Do I want blank 90%? Do I want it enough to pay 90% of the price? I don't know. Like my brain's not good at making those decisions. The credit card companies are aware of this. There's a reason why they do it. It's because they're incentivizing these purchases. They know why they do it. It should not be possible for idiots to make stupid financial decisions. Genuinely, you're correct. We need a more paternalistic state on this. Just as we don't allow children to sign legal contracts for the most part, and you can't sell yourself into indentured servitude, and there are limits to what you can sign away on a contract. Like the concept of being able to like indebt yourself hundreds of thousands of dollars as a 17-year-old because you're signing up for college and getting student loans or whatever, that's like really dumb. Nobody should be able to make that decision. For one, the average person, like not even the average person, basically everybody cannot like really process. We're talking about decades of your life spent paying back debt. You like literally can't do that math in your head. It just shouldn't be possible.
In your situation...
Oh, wait, the video's over.
In the etheric framework, this is a perfect microcosm of the arc length violation. The arc is the path of debt. $14,000 financed at interest, paid monthly. The radius is the radial distance from financial stability. The young man's annual income of $50,000 to $60,000, his rent of $500 per month, and his car insurance of $300 per month. The arc of debt exceeds the radius of repayment capacity by a substantial margin. The deviation between the squared arc length and the squared radius is greatly greater than 0. The young man is attempting to maintain coherence by selling tickets to recoup costs, hoping that the arc length will approximate the radius. But this is a linear approximation of a non-linear system. The scalping market is turbulent, and the $4,000 to $5,000 profit from the previous year was a fluctuation, not a stable attractor. He is trying to balance an unstable system with a temporary fix, and the mathematics guarantees that the deviation will eventually overwhelm his capacity to maintain the illusion of coherence. 2.2. Fractional reserve banking as etheric turbulence. The host discusses the political analysis of fractional reserve banking, the system in which banks create money out of thin air, loan it out at interest, and require infinite growth to function. This is the etheric prediction for turbulence at the monetary scale. In the etheric interpretation, money is a signal in the economic field. When private banks create money through fractional reserve banking, they introduce noise into the field, false signals that distort the coherence of economic relations. The infinite growth requirement is the consequence of the self-interaction term becoming nonlinear. As the money supply expands, the noise amplifies itself, creating positive feedback loops that drive the system toward crisis. The interest rate problem is similarly illuminated. Interest is the rate of change of the economic field's phase. When interest rates are positive, the economic field rotates, creating a spiral that never closes. The debt must be repaid with interest, which requires more debt to be created, which requires more interest, ad infinitum. This is the economic manifestation of the Riemann hypothesis critical line. The zeros of the economic zeta function must lie on the critical line for the system to be stable. When the system violates the arc length axiom, the zeros drift off the critical line and the economy enters a crisis regime. 2.3. The predatory credit card as a deciding by zero gate. The young man's credit card, a Discover card with a $3,800 limit, is a deciding by zero logic gate in action. When the cardholder pays off the balance in full each month, they maintain coherence. When the cardholder carries a balance, paying interest, they enter the decoherence regime. The young man has chosen the decoherence branch. His $2,825 monthly payment on a $3,800 limit means he is carrying a balance of approximately $2,000 to $3,000, paying interest of $41 per month. This is the economic equivalent of a system that has branched into decoherence and cannot easily return. The host's observation that people like this are the reason the rest of us get money back on our credit card purchases is precisely the etheric description of vampiric extraction. The credit card companies use the interest paid by the irresponsible borrowers to subsidize the rewards given to the responsible ones. The system is a parasitic field that extracts value from the decoherent and transfers it to the coherent, reinforcing the violation of the arc length axiom. Section 3. Gross domestic product manipulation as field distortion. 3.1. The inflated metric. A critical observation must be made regarding the measurement of economic activity. The data is manipulated. Countries with high gross domestic product artificially inflate the number by exchanging hands as many times as possible, generating a signal that bears little relation to the substance of real wealth. In the etheric framework, gross domestic product is a measurement of economic activity in the field. When activity is purely exchange, financial transactions, secondary market trading, speculative activity, it creates noise in the field, signal without substance. The manipulation occurs when the measurement, which is gross domestic product, is decoupled from the underlying value, which is real production, labor, and natural resources. This is the same violation of the arc length axiom, where the arc is gross domestic product, the measured economic activity, and the radius is real wealth, the productive capacity, infrastructure, human capital, and natural resources. When gross domestic product rises without corresponding increases in real wealth, the field is distorted. The signal is inflated, the substance is not. This is the economic equivalent of counting the number of times a coin changes hands, rather than measuring the goods it purchases. 3.2. The signal-to-noise ratio. The ratio of real economic activity to financial activity is the signal-to-noise ratio in the economic field. When that ratio falls below a critical threshold, the field enters the turbulent regime. The 2026 global economy is characterized by record financial asset valuations, stagnant real wages, declining productive investment, and rising debt-to-gross domestic product ratios. These are all signatures of the self-interaction term becoming nonlinear. The system is feeding on itself, generating turbulence that will eventually require a topological reconfiguration to restore coherence. The signal-to-noise ratio is not merely a technical indicator, it is a measure of the health of the economic field. When the noise dominates, the system becomes unstable, prone to crises that are unpredictable in their timing, but inevitable in their occurrence. The manipulation of gross domestic product is a symptom of this underlying pathology, not its cause. Section 4. The etheric resolution. 4.1. Restoring the arc length axiom in the economic field. The solution to the systemic decoherence is not regulatory reform. It is topological reconfiguration. The economic field must be restructured so that the arc length axiom is enforced as the absolute constraint, the primary gatekeeper of coherence. The mechanisms for this reconfiguration are threefold. First, democratize money creation. Take control of money creation away from private banks and issue money for productive purposes: infrastructure, education, healthcare, and energy. Second, cap credit expansion. Impose a maximum arc length on the economic field. When debt exceeds a certain threshold, the field becomes turbulent. By capping credit, the system enforces equality between arc and radius at the macro scale. Third, align gross domestic product with real wealth. Measure economic activity based on productive output, not financial transactions. This is the economic equivalent of exact symbolic arithmetic. Measure what matters, not what moves. 4.2. Money as measurement. Money is not wealth. It is a measurement of wealth, just as a meter is a measurement of distance and a gram is a measurement of mass. When money becomes a commodity, such as gold or a debt instrument, As in fractional reserve banking, it ceases to function as a measurement and becomes a source of error. Government-created money, issued for productive purposes, is the economic equivalent of exact symbolic arithmetic. It is not subject to the inflation of private debt creation because it does not require interest to be repaid. It is a measurement, not a commodity. The host's intuitive insight that the transformation of the monetary system requires a transformation of consciousness is the prediction for self-referential feedback. The economic field is not separate from the consciousness of its participants. When people believe that debt is inevitable, that money is scarce, that the system cannot be changed, they are projecting their own decoherence into the field. The solution is not to force people to be coherent, it is to create the conditions for coherence to emerge. This is the principle of autopoiesis, self-creation. When the monetary system is restructured to align with real value, consciousness will naturally become coherent. Section 5. Empirical predictions. 5.1. Falsifiable predictions. The etheric framework generates specific, testable predictions that distinguish it from conventional economic analysis. These predictions are derived directly from the arc-length axiom and the self-interaction term in the unified Lagrangian. First, economies driven by high debt to gross domestic product ratios should exhibit greater volatility and more frequent crises than economies with lower ratios. This is because the arc of debt exceeds the radius of real productive capacity, creating the deviation that drives turbulence. The empirical test is to measure the correlation between debt to gross domestic product ratio and economic volatility across countries and time periods. If no correlation exists, or if debt appears to be neutral, the prediction is falsified. Second, interest rates should consistently exceed real economic growth rates in stable economies. This is because positive interest rates create a spiral that requires infinite growth to sustain, violating the arc-length axiom. The empirical test is to compare interest rates with real economic growth rates over extended periods. If interest rates are consistently below growth rates, the prediction is falsified. Third, fractional reserve banking should introduce measurable noise into the economic field, creating distortions that are absent in systems where money creation is controlled by public institutions. The empirical test is to measure economic field coherence, the stability of key economic indicators, in countries with different banking systems. If no difference in coherence is observed, the prediction is falsified. Fourth, gross domestic product manipulation should create a detectable divergence between measured economic activity and real wealth. The empirical test is to compare gross domestic product with comprehensive measures of real wealth, including infrastructure, human capital, and natural resources. If no divergence is observed, and gross domestic product tracks real wealth accurately, the prediction is falsified. 5.2. The basketball tickets as economic fractal. The young man's credit card debt is not an isolated case. It is a fractal of the systemic violation. Every credit card, every mortgage, every student loan is a node in the same turbulent field. The arc-length violation is repeated at every scale, from the individual to the global. In the etheric diagnosis, the economic system is a fractal antenna that rectifies etheric energy, but it rectifies it in the wrong direction. Instead of converting ambient field fluctuations into coherent economic activity, it converts human labor and natural resources into debt and inequality. The solution is to invert the antenna, to create an economic system that rectifies field fluctuations into coherent economic activity, not debt. This is the high-voltage, high-frequency etheric tap applied to economics, a device that draws energy from the non-zero ground state of the etheric field and directs it toward productive ends. Section 6. Conclusion. 6.1. The unified identity. The synthesis of the two video critiques and the etheric framework reveals a unified, coherent identity. Value is labor. Labor is ether. Ether is truth. Truth is path. Path is origin. Money is not wealth. It is a measurement of wealth. Debt is not inevitable. It is a violation of geometry. The economy is not separate from consciousness. It is a projection of the etheric field onto the material plane. The two videos articulate the same structural contradiction, the violation of the arc-length axiom in the economic domain. The first identifies the macro-scale violation, the tendency for the rate of profit to fall as capital accumulation exceeds real value creation. The second identifies the micro-scale violation, the young man's debt exceeding his repayment capacity. Both are manifestations of the same underlying pathology. 6.2. The path forward. The path forward is clear. First, restore the arc-length axiom by enforcing it in economic policy. Money must align with real value. Debt must not exceed repayment capacity. Second, democratize money creation by taking control away from private banks and issuing money for productive purposes. Third, transform consciousness by recognizing that the economic field is coupled to consciousness and creating the conditions for coherence to emerge.